Hey everyone, welcome back to Carrie's Thrifty Farmhouse. If you're new here, I'm Carrie and I love creating high-end farmhouse decor on a thrift store and Dollar Tree budget. Today I'm back with another quick and easy farmhouse style DIY, which is inspired by a bunny topiary I saw on the Pottery Barn website. My version is about 1/8 of the price and all my materials came from Dollar Tree, and I'm excited to share how I use some unconventional materials to achieve the look for less. And if you enjoy this video, I would love for you to like, comment, and hopefully subscribe. It really helps support my channel so I can bring you even more budget DIYs. And if this is your first time here, be sure to introduce yourself in the comments below. I'd love to connect. So as I mentioned, I was inspired by this bunny topiary I saw on the Pottery Barn website. I especially liked that it looked like a real bunny and not a cartoonish two-dimensional cutout. I also really liked how it had ivy on it. This added additional texture and interest to the piece. The only thing I didn't like was the $79 price tag. I was up for the challenge of creating a similar style bunny topiary and I knew I could do it for less. I knew it would take some trial and error to create this piece, so I headed to my favorite place, the Dollar Tree, and basically grabbed anything I thought might work. I ended up grabbing more than I needed, as usual, but I knew that most of the materials were pretty versatile and could be used for many other DIYs. For the main part of the body, I used a large car wash sponge and duct tape, both from the hardware section of the store. I rolled the sponge widthwise and secured it with the duct tape. I knew that the end was a little too flat for a little bunny booty, so I cut the rounded part of these nail guard scouring sponges from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree and secured it with more of the duct tape. For the front end, I cut pieces from another one of the car sponges, but you could use another scouring sponge here. The end result was about the size and shape of a burrito from Chipotle, so that's what we're going for here. And now I want a chicken burrito bowl. I thought these mini footballs from the kids section were a pretty good approximation of a bunny head. The point at one end was just like a snout, so I just trimmed off about 1/3 from the back. I tried to cut it in a rounded way but failed miserably, so I ended up cutting another corner off the car wash sponge and taped that to the back. This made it a little rounded in the back but pointy in the front, just like a little bunny head. Honestly, it looked a little bit like a dog head at this point, but I knew adding some large ears would give it the undeniable bunny look. I had picked up some of these plastic bunny ear headbands from the Easter section, but I ended up scrapping those because I thought they were too small relative to the size of the head, and also too pointy. Again, we're going for the look of an actual bunny, not the Easter bunny, so I wanted the ears to be more oval than pointy. I ended up using these foam pedicure pads, but Dollar Tree sometimes has foam sheets in the craft section, or you could also use foam board for this. To give the ears some thickness, I folded the foam in half so there would be 2 layers. I thought the best way to attach the ears to the head was to use skewers, so I cut 2 pieces that were about 2 inches long from a wooden skewer. You can usually get these in the kitchen section at Dollar Tree, but if you can't find them there, you can get them at Walmart, or you could also use a couple of toothpicks for this as well. I taped the skewers to the inside, folded the foam around it, and used duct tape to cover it. Next, I used a knife to cut slits where the ears needed to go, added a little hot glue, and stuck the skewers in to attach the ears to the head. Then I thought my bunny needed a short little neck. I don't like to waste anything, so I ended up using the scrap piece from the nail guard sponge I had used for the butt. I cut it in half lengthways and rolled it and secured it with more duct tape. Then I just taped it to the body. Next, I used the same skewer technique to attach the head to the body. I poked a hole with a knife, then added glue and stuck the skewer in. Then I repeated that for the other end of the skewer. For the legs, I used these bendy hair rollers from the beauty section. I had seen Jess from Glue La La use rollers for legs back when she made some reindeer around Christmas time. I'll be sure to link her channel in the description box below. And I thought that was a great way to add stability. I wanted my legs to be a little thicker than one roller though, so I taped two together. When I put the two together though, I didn't think the legs were round enough, so I solved that by adding little roll-ups of the cotton makeup pads. I did 3 along each side, and then there was the perfect amount of cotton that hung off the edge to overlap them and make it have a rounded end. Then I covered the leg with duct tape and repeated the process with the second front leg. I glued the legs to the side with hot glue and then reinforced them by wrapping it with, you guessed it, more duct tape. I wanted the hind legs to be a little longer, so I followed the same process as I did with the front legs, only I added an additional roller that I bent in half, so the legs were approximately 1.5 curlers long. I used the cotton pads on the sides and wrapped the duct tape for these as well. Then I lined them up with the front legs and attached them to the body with hot glue and duct tape. I decided that my bunny needed an even fluffier butt, so I added another corner of the car sponge to the back and taped that on. I'm sorry this part is nearly off camera. Sometimes I'm so enveloped in the project that I forget to check my camera work. I was trying to mimic the position of the bunny in the original Pottery barn piece where he's sort of sticking his butt in the air and his back legs are much longer, but that didn't look right to me, so I ended up trimming off about 1 inch off the ends of the legs. I first used scissors to cut through the tape and foam, but then I needed wire cutters to cut through the wire that's inside the curlers. Once I was finished with that, my bunny form was finished. Next, I painted my bunny with the moss color from Waverly Chalk Paint. I thought this was the closest match to the moss I was going to be using, but really any green paint will do. They do have some paint options at the Dollar Tree, so you could keep this exclusively to Dollar Tree products if you wish. We're obviously going to be covering the bunny with moss, but this is just so that the shiny gray tape won't show through in any spots. Then it was time to add the moss. I saw this reindeer moss for the first time at my Dollar Tree, and even though it's not exactly the same shade of green as the moss in the original Pottery barn piece, I decided to use it because I liked the soft look of this reindeer moss better than the drier Spanish moss available at Dollar Tree. This was also easier to pull apart in bunches than the other style of moss, and it didn't crumble as much. I started with his belly. I inverted him and propped him up on a paint can so there wouldn't be too much pressure on his ears. Then I just started working in sections. I added a generous amount of hot glue and then stuck down a handful of moss at a time. Be careful when you press down. Since there are little spaces in the moss, sometimes some of the glue sneaks through. I burned myself a few times, and you see me eventually getting smart and adding my little silicone finger protectors. Every so often I would use my scissors to give him a nice trim. Sometimes there was some touch-up that needed to be done, so I just added some more moss where it was needed. So while I continue gluing and trimming down the moss, I thought I'd share our adventure from last weekend. We went snow tubing for the first time, and once we were there, we wondered why we hadn't tried this before. It was absolutely amazing, and it was the same resort location where I first learned to ski back in middle school ski club, so that was a special treat. We're about to go down, me and Tom. Are we gonna win against Dad and Tyler? Is that right? We'll see.
End it before we go down.
Say hi, Tyler.
Hi.
Okay, here we go. Go, 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 go. Okay. Woo! Okay, so that was a little bit embarrassing. It doesn't really show in that video, but the slides were extra slick from it being a little warmer and the snow melting and refreezing. So at one point we went up on the side and almost slid into the chute next to us. It was exhilarating and a little scary at the same time. So back to the project. Now it's time to add the leaves. I'm using these same floral stems from Dollar Tree that I used in my Kirkland's topiary dupe from a previous video. I always look past the flower and check the greenery stems at Dollar Tree. You sometimes have to scavenge, but there are several types that have better, more natural stems like these. This one has purple flowers, but I've definitely seen the same florals in white, yellow, blue, and I think pink as well. The leaves almost have a boxwood look to them, which I thought was close to the ivy look in the original. I noticed in the original that the ivy was mostly on his back, but it sort of snuck up his ears and down his legs, so I tried to mimic that. I mainly used the full stems, but there were a few places that I filled in with just the leaves that I had cut from the same stems. Sorry again for my camera work here. I'm definitely still learning. Maybe some more experienced YouTubers can weigh in. Do you mark your workspace for what is in the frame? I've tried that, but things seem to shift. Anyway, I'd love some advice. A few more leaves and my bunny topiary was finished. And here's our little friend. I just love how he turned out. Not exactly like the original, but for about 1/8 the price, I am satisfied with this result. This is my first Easter piece of the season, so I guess I'll need to make some additional Easter decor to join him. But one thing I do love is that he doesn't scream Easter, so he might even be able to stay around for a little while. I guess we'll see. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you can stay up to date with my content. I have lots more spring DIYs headed your way, so stay tuned for those. See you next time. Bye.